It's 8 p.m. in Banjul, and from our studios on MDI Road, this is the news. First, the headlines. Participants at the first ever Gambia Day held on the sidelines of the Convention on the Status of Women at United Nations headquarters urged to act with urgency and learn from the Gambia's experience. Director General Momodu Sabali and two of his deputies embarked on a weekend tour of GRTS provincial facilities to acquaint themselves with the state of affairs. Anti-immigrant protests erupt in Belgium capital and in Paris. This as authorities in both countries deepen their investigations into the recent terror attacks. And an island protected by Taiwan, but claimed by China, add to the already complex mix of claims and counterclaims in the South China Sea. Well, viewers, those are your headlines. With me, WINIFRED NICOL. Act with urgency and learn from the Gambia's experience. These were the words of women delegates who attended the first ever Gambia Day, commemorated at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Among them, activists and advocates. Babakar Senghor reports on the event that drew participants from different parts of the world.
The bodily integrity and the health and well-being of women cannot be justified, and FGM is one traditional practice that cannot be justified.
In an age of increasing calls for not only inclusion for women and girls, the Gambia has virtually acted with real passion and dedication for the promotion of the welfare of this vital sector of society. This was in its truest evidence in the latter stages of the past year. This was exactly 20 years after the Beijing Summit on Women and Girls. For all of these government's exemplary efforts in promoting the lots of women and girls, and there were countless of those since 1994, few will eclipse the giant strides made in 2015, when President Jammeh banned the age-old traditional practice of FGM, a deep-rooted tradition that, according to health indicators, continued to wreak havoc on victims across the world. That declaration was made at home, but its impact has been felt the world over, and this was in evidence when the first ever Gambia Day was celebrated at the United Nations. It was a special day for our proud people and a country that has been convulsed by a modern and progressive, far-sighted leadership.
Apart from that special girls' education scholarship scheme, we also have the School Improvement Grant that provides free education to children in school, both boys and girls, and this has made education compulsory. And this is one strategy that will address early marriage. Because if girls stay on in school up to university level, they would have aged above 18.
This was a historic day at the UN, and the Gambian ambassador and permanent representative at the United Nations explains it better when he said, "It is time this great country and people tell her own story." The government and people of the Gambia, under the dynamic leadership of President Jammeh, had long advocated the rights of women and girls at home, and now those calls are getting louder, and the world is now listening.
Chairperson, it is with a deep sense of pride, once again, as you have alluded to already, an honor and gratitude that we are holding this session here today on the sidelines of the CSW 60, the 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. And as I sit here before you on the blessed day, to deliver a statement, of course, at this auspicious occasion, when the Gambia, as I said earlier on, is hosting a side event on the sidelines of CSW 60 for the first time indeed. May I take this opportunity therefore to thank all of you for responding to our call. The theme for this side event, focusing on the minds of women and girls, of course we mean FGMC, no doubt, for sustainable development, is quite apt. I'm sure you'll agree with me that it is true education, there's no doubt about that, because exchanging ideas such as this, fora like this, exchanging lessons of good practice such as we are having today, It's all part of education in a broader way. Empowerment and protection of women and girls, through that we can change the mindset solely of the whole of society, including men and boys.
Delegates who came to attend the Gambia Day gave glowing endorsement of the Gambian example. For others, the Gambian experience and story can serve the rest of the world a genuine lead to end harmful traditional practices against women and girls.
It was so amazing, listening to the testimony of my dear sister. More power to you, my sister, and you will go on. I want to add my voice to other speakers to congratulate His Excellency Yahya Jammeh. He's a great man.
Many of the delegates who descended on the Gambian mission in New York, majority of them activists and advocates, urged global leaders to borrow a leaf of President Jammeh's copybook to take the bold step and decision to end all forms of violence against women.
I know we want to hear the story of the people that are doing the real work on the ground in relation to FGM. So I just want to say 2 or 3 really quick things. The first is that I think we all absolutely recognise and respect the huge leadership that has been shown by the Islamic Republic of the Government of Gambia in relation to banning FGM. And this we really need to acknowledge and celebrate. When I came in here and I saw the poster at the back and at the side of the room, the Gambia government has banned FGM, and I could imagine seeing the world has banned FGM. So I think when we come to CSW next year in 2017, all the railings outside the UN building are going to be plastered in posters. This government has banned FGMC, this government has banned FGMC, and there's been huge leadership by the Gambian government.
For the Deputy Secretary General, the day resonates well with the idea and progressive story that has been the hallmark of President Jammeh's exemplary leadership credentials.
I congratulate each and every one of you today for being part of this historic moment that complements His Excellency's directive to ban FGM.
It was a great day for the Gambia at the United Nations, but the overwhelming feeling here was a step towards the future for a bigger and better Gambia Day come 2017. For Grts News, this is Babukar Senghor.
A high-powered GRTS delegation led by the Director General Momodu Sabali over the weekend embarked on a tour of GRTS installations across the country to meet staff and see firsthand the state of affairs of the provincial installations. The tour forms part of Mr. Sabali's drive to rejuvenate the national broadcaster by challenging staff to push the boundaries of their work in order to better serve the Gambian people. Mamadou Jallo traveled with the delegation and he filed in this report.
Barely 2 months into his appointment as the Director General of the Gambia Radio and Television Services, Momodu Sabali, at the head of a high-powered delegation, embarked on a tour of GRTS's installations in the provinces. Accompanied by his 2 deputies, Alhaji Lamin Manga and Bai Sanyang, the delegation also included Abdullah Gassama, the Director of Radio Programs, and Kemo Jara, the Senior Marketing Manager. This visit comes at a crucial moment when Mr. Sabali is seeking to rejuvenate the national broadcaster by challenging staff to be more dedicated, creative, and self-motivated.
The purpose of the visit is to familiarize myself coming in new into the management of the Gambia Radio and Television Services, to come and see for myself what's on the ground and to consult our staff on the ground and see how we can move ahead with some of the innovative ideas coming from the management as to how to take this wonderful institution to the next level. I was impressed with what I saw. I was particularly impressed by the level of dedication and commitment of the staff in the rural areas, and also the quality of infrastructure we have. And it's also a sort of motivation for me and the management to make sure that this very, very important brand, that is the GRTS brand, is optimized. But we found that we don't only have staff, we have die-hard fans and loyalists from the man in the grassroots up country to community leaders and politicians in the entire length and breadth of the Gambia.
The delegation first arrived in Basse, where they met staff at the regional radio station. The meeting accorded management and staff the rare opportunity to hold frank discussions and exchange views on how to improve services in this very important installation. The Basse Regional Station is the main hub for broadcasting, allowing the national radio to reach out to a wider audience in the region and beyond. It enjoys some autonomy, which allows the radio to decide its own content to suit the needs of this vast region. Therefore, this visit, according to the Director of Radio Programs, Abdoulaye Gassama, is meant to strengthen this very important work.
In the good days of Radio Gambia can challenge any regional or sub-regional broadcasting institution. Testimonies of that can be located at our library, situated at Mile 7. However, we need to get our acts together, make sure that we work very hard and serve the people of this country.
The Deputy Director for Administration, Alhaji Lamin Manga, revealed that management is exploring avenues to introduce live television broadcasting from the station as a means to not only diversify operations, but enrich content as well. He commended staff for their work under challenging conditions, adding that it is indeed inspiring for management to have such institutional memory at its disposal.
If you walk in here, you read Gambia radio and television services, and we're still called Radio Gambia. The television bit is still not included in your daily activities, and these are some of the plans that the Sabali would like to see happen, to decentralize our efforts, where when a report is done from here, we can only hear it on GRT's radio. We also want to create the enabling environment where it would become audio-visual. We can send visuals as it happens.
The Director General Mamadou Sabali hailed the older generation of broadcasters who left indelible marks on the Gambia's broadcasting landscape. Therefore, the only way to honor their legacy, the GRT's boss opined, is to harness the trove of material and experience at our disposal.
We have the requisite machinery and manpower to do more than double what we are currently doing. What we need is a little bit more of motivation, a little bit more of challenging the staff on the ground, because I see a lot of institutional memory, capacity, creativity, network, and brand power. But we need to be able to tap and harness that potential by challenging the staff, stretching them a little bit, and giving them that spark that should bring out the results of the creativity that's latent within them.
Whilst acknowledging the challenges that exist, Mr. Sabali insisted that such challenges should not hold the staff back, but instead should spur them to strive for excellence in order to surmount these problems. DG Sabali also warned staff against any form of excuses or indifference, saying it would not be business as usual as far as attitude to work is concerned. The regional manager of the station, Mamadou Lamin Nyasi, expressed deep appreciation to the GRTS top brass for coming, saying this visit has given them extra motivation to harness the vast potentials that exist to make a difference in line with the stated objectives of the new management. He also sought and got guarantees from the Director General that the station will be provided with 2 new motorbikes to enhance movements of staff, internet connection, computers and a laptop, as well as training for local staff to enhance work at the station. The GRTS regional station also has a very formidable fans club known as ambassadors who monitor content and represent the station at their communities. The group is led by Sehna Bajaha, a very proactive community leader who pledged to work harder to deepen the partnership between them and GRTS. In response, Mr. Sabali equally expressed deep appreciation to the ambassadors for their help and support to the station, urging them to strengthen the partnership between them and the national broadcaster. Sabali and delegation later drove to the outskirts of Basse to pay homage to another prominent GRTS well-wisher, renowned in the region for his invaluable support. Mr. Sabali expressed profound gratitude to Sir Almamo Silla for his role in utilizing the station to preach responsible citizenship and patriotism, saying religious leaders have an important role to play in society. Before winding up the tour, the delegation visited the main transmitter in Basse, which transmits signals from the GRTS headquarters to the Upper River region. From there, they also visited another station, which is expected to house the satellite project. Before returning to Banjul, the delegation stopped at Bansang for a look at the existing installation and a brief meeting with local staff. This transmitter, perched on a hill overlooking Bansang, beams signals to most parts of the Central River region. The Director General commended staff for their hard work and urged them to redouble their efforts to ensure that GRTS signals are always available to viewers. Mr. Savali immediately tasked his team to ensure that the station is supplied weekly fuel rations to enhance operations. A similar directive was also issued at Mansa Concourse Station, where it was realized that 2,000 liters of fuel would be needed weekly to power the transmitter. At the end of the tour, the GRCS team expressed satisfaction with the current state of installations, pledging to make adjustments to fill the gaps, which in the long term is expected to unleash the full potentials of the Gambia radio and television services to better serve the people. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
In the wake of the recent terror attacks in Brussels, the European Union ambassador to the Gambia, Attila Lajos, has written a letter addressed to the people of Belgium. It reads, "I would like to express my deepest sympathy to the people of Brussels, Belgium, to the many wounded, to the families and loved ones of those cruelly hit by the explosions on the morning of 22nd March 2016 at the Zaventem Airport and Melbeek Metro Station. I would also like to express my full support for the solidarity with the Belgian authorities. Attacks have hit Brussels this week, Paris last week, but it is Europe as a whole that has been targeted. The European Union and its institutions stand united in the face of terrorism. In this regard, the European Union delegation to the Islamic Republic of the Gambia has decided to jointly open a condolence book together with the Belgian consulate in Banjul. The condolence book will be placed at the EU delegation in Fajara on Tuesday 29th March and Wednesday 30th March 2016 from 1000 hours to 1200 hours and 1400 hours to 1600 hours it ends. Trafficking of girls and access to land were some of the major topics that stole the show when women from all walks of life met recently to celebrate International Women's Day. The program was organized by Activista, Action Aid, Youth Network, and the Agency for the Development of Women and Children. Ibrahim Balde has the rest of that story.
They march in unison, convinced that the symbolic issues that bind them are daunting but not impossible to resolve. Ker Demba Hole in the North Bank region was the site of a colorful garden that brought together women from all walks of life. The emotional charged song captures the mood of the event. We are marching, women are not commodities. Organized by Activista, Action Aid Youth Network in collaboration with the Agency for the Development of Women and Children (ADWAC, the event examined some of the major challenges affecting the growth and intellectual development of girls and women in Africa. Our girls are not for sale, stop human trafficking was the theme of the program.
A key indicator to development rely how much progress we have as far as our effort to women empowerment is concerned. Celebrating women annually is twofold. One, we celebrate the success. The other one, we try to recognize the limitations and put forward mechanisms to see how far we can go in advancing the rights of women. When we as Africa, as a continent, is talking about HIV and AIDS, we're talking about climate change, we're talking about food insecurity, we're talking about poverty, child trafficking is becoming an issue.
The stakes are always high when it comes to overcoming the challenges facing girls across the continent. Mohamed Lamin Sedikan took time to highlight some of these issues.
Our young girls, our young women have been trafficked to the Arab world. Our young girls have been trafficked to Europe. And then these people are used as slaves. These people are used as sex workers. So this team is around sensitizing the population, sensitizing the Gambians to understand the menace behind human trafficking. And it's high time for Gambians to really realize this menace and take critical actions to really end this dangerous menace that is affecting our population.
Trafficking and sale of girls are considered transnational crimes. One may be tempted to find out what the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons is doing on the ground.
The agency is trying to grow from strength to strength, and the agency over the past 2 years has been engaged in so many activities relating to human trafficking. So the agency for the past 2 years have identified some potential cases of human trafficking, some of which have already been investigated and others are still under investigation. And in fact, as a matter of fact, some cases are already before the Gambian courts. There are a few cases pending before the courts wherein some people are alleged to have committed offenses against the Trafficking in Persons Act, and necessary things will be done by this office to ensure that at least the perpetrators of these offenses are brought to justice.
So Nambai Kumba Sanyang Fatu Mane Aja Lumbatu Samate all spoke at length about trafficking and how access to land are hampering women and girl children not only in the country but across Africa. The event was spiced up with a stimulating drama performance depicting the way girls and women are working tirelessly to overcome trafficking and clamoring for the right to be given land. Ibrahima Balde, GRTS.
The community of Sabi in the Upper River region is relishing the invaluable services provided by their health facility, constructed by indigenes of the village based in the diaspora. The multi-million Dalasi Health Center was inaugurated some 4 months ago by the Gambian leader, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya A.J.J. Jame Babili Mansa, during his Dialogue with the People tour. GRTS recently traveled to the border settlement to explore how the health center is faring. And as we hear in this report by Mamadou Jallo, residents are grateful for the free medical services they enjoy.
The Sabi Health Center is a multi-million Dalasi facility sponsored by the Sabu Sire Kaho, an association of indigenes of Sabi based in the diaspora. By sponsoring the construction of this health center, the sons and daughters of Sabi hope to give back to their homeland by providing such indispensable services as health care. And Sumana Sise, a community development officer, in an interview with GRTS, explained how the concept started and later blossomed beyond the expectations of the community.
This is the most important thing, because development is people. You cannot develop people. It's people that can develop themselves. You look at what they need and they embark on it. That was the first impression I had. I told them, when you people are doing this for yourself, that means you people are already doing what I am here to do. Because my role is a community development facilitator. So if you people are developing projects for yourself, using your own resources, I think you need to be commended. And I think it is a wonderful way that I want to encourage, in fact, other communities to follow suit. Because development is people.
Besides constructing the buildings, the Sabu Sire Kaho also shipped in all the necessary materials to furnish the wards with state-of-the-art beds and equipment. However, it was not until the government took over that the health center became fully operational. Following a visit to the village late last year, the President, His Excellency Sir Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jame Babili Mansa, inaugurated the facility. The President was highly appreciative of this initiative, hailing the diaspora-based Sabians for the unprecedented move, which greatly complimented government. During the meeting, Professor Jame gave the community $1 million to procure drugs, whilst also pledging to construct a borehole to supply water. 4 months on, everything is going well for the health center, as it has enough supply of drugs and a resident doctor sent by the President. Jawa Koli, a midwife, said this supply of drugs can last for months.
Another development is, we have a doctor, because the President promised that we are going to have a doctor. And that doctor is also very useful here, because he used to see patients here, and sometimes go to Basse, see patients. And here we are using it also for admitting patients, because Basse Health Center is congested. So some of the patients will be referred here and then admitted, and we will take care of them. So they went to buy drugs, and it can last, for almost a year.
The health facility, by virtue of its strategic location, caters for thousands of patients from across the Upper River region and neighboring Senegal. This, however, does not in any way deter health workers from rendering services free of charge. For the beneficiaries, this health facility has saved them lives and resources. Until now, they had to travel kilometers, mostly on foot, to the nearest health center in Basse. Bahore Sila, a resident of Sabi, spoke of the immense benefits this has brought them as a community, saying they can now knock on the health center's door at any time to receive free medical care. Interestingly enough, Bahore revealed Sabi Health Center receives referrals from Basse. This was re-echoed by Buya Jao, who spoke of the difficulties women endured before they accessed medical care. In the old days, we walked kilometers to Basse, and this took a toll on pregnant women and the elderly, she said. Buya thanked Professor Jame for providing them drugs, a doctor and an ambulance to evacuate critical cases, and pledged their support at all times. The facility is now looking to the future, working hard to sustain these impressive gains. they plan to install solar panels to supply 24-hour electricity to keep operations ongoing. By so doing, this would be a giant leap ahead as the Sabi Health Center strives to be a center of excellence and a model for other communities to emulate. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
We will be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Stay tuned.
QCell's Kodo mobile money, you can now send and receive money anytime, anywhere. QCell's Kodo also lets you buy QCell credit, Q-Power, and lots more. For more information, call 133. QCell's Kodo mobile money. Sunyu Sim, Sunyu Kalpe, Sunyu Bus.
Welcome back. Sunday saw anti-immigrants protest at the site of a Brussels memorial, highlighting the rift among Belgians. Similar tensions were also reported in Paris in the aftermath of those attacks. CNN Simon Moshin reports.
Samoon Ahmed Khan had a lucky escape. He missed both the attacks at the airport and metro by minutes. He's in Brussels on a business trip and has barely left his hotel since the bombings. But not just because he's afraid of terrorist attacks.
Actually, I stayed in the hotel for 2 days. I even did not go out because I was scared what will be the people's reaction because of my beard or because I'm Muslim, I'm from Pakistan. Second, I was scared because the control, the forces, the police, they're doing their job. I'm not saying they're doing it for the people's safety, but I don't want to be in that trauma situation where they will be keeping me for 4 to 5 hours.
His wife and family were concerned about racial attacks and a backlash against Muslims. His company advised him not to travel.
I was scared because of the bag. If I go from one train station to another with my suitcase and with my appearance.
Samoon's fears are not unfounded. On Sunday, right-wing protesters charged through the memorial in Place de la Bourse, stamping on flowers, raising Nazi salutes. Just a day before, members of Brussels' Muslim community came out to show solidarity with their fellow citizens, laying bouquets of flowers for the victims. Muslim mothers brought their children to light candles.
For me, it's immoral and shameful. Not all Muslims are terrorists. We are against terrorists. We are nice Muslims.
We are human beings. Our relationship with God is separate. We're not allowed to judge others. We should put our spiritual side aside and work together. Build together.
There are two types of Muslims. There are those who are not good and those who are good. We are not all the same.
This little girl wrote a message saying, "I'm against terrorism. Why all this war?" Declarations and questions too big for a small child. For some in this community, it's unbearable that Muslims could carry out such a heinous attack.
It hurts. These are innocent human beings that are dead. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't kill innocent people. They haven't done anything. It's not our religion that kills. It's got nothing to do with it. Islam is a peaceful religion.
Amongst the flags of countries that too have suffered from terror attacks, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkey, France, a banner above them all reads, "Not in the name of Islam." Simon Morsin, CNN, Brussels.
A power struggle continues to play out in the South China Sea. Several governments have long claimed different sectors, and now a group of islands claimed by rival countries is at the center of the dispute. CNN reports One of those islands, which is guarded by Taiwan, is also claimed by China.
The contested waters of the South China Sea, seen from a Taiwanese military plane. And this is what greets you when you land at Taiping, an island controlled by Taiwan. Taiping is a tiny island. It basically runs the length of this runway. The Taiwanese government first laid claim to this place more than half a century ago. But this is the very first time, the government says, that journalists have been invited to see it firsthand. And it's at a time when tensions are ratcheting up here in the South China Sea. At least 6 different countries have competing claims for this body of water, but China claims almost all of it. And to cement China's claim, Beijing has been building a series of man-made islands atop reefs and atolls in the hotly disputed Spratly Archipelago. It's making the neighbors nervous.
We are opposed to militarization or military expansionism in the area.
Enter the U.S. Navy. We caught up with the aircraft carrier John C. Stennis shortly after it sailed through the South China Sea, performing an unmistakable show of U.S. force.
Just being there in the South China Sea shows that, we believe we have the right to operate international waters, all ships, not just military vessels, but civilian vessels.
Washington calls these visits freedom of navigation operations. They clearly irritate the Chinese.
This is the Chinese Navy. This is the Chinese Navy. Please go away quickly.
Last year, CNN accompanied a U.S. Navy spy plane that flew over China's man-made islands.
Go, go!
Beijing expressed outrage, issuing formal protests and calling these operations a very serious provocation. So where do smaller claimants like Taiwan fit in? On Taiping, officials showed off the island's chickens and goats, as well as supplies of fresh water. If Taiwan proves Taiping can sustain human life, then the Taiwanese can make the case for a potentially lucrative 200 nautical mile economic exclusion zone around the island. Amid the contest for control of the South China Sea, Taiwan is trying to demonstrate that it too is a player and should not be overlooked. Meanwhile, other small countries like Vietnam and the Philippines are reaching out to the U.S. for help at counterbalancing China as it continues to flex its naval muscle in this contested body of water. A place that feels like a tropical paradise is instead becoming part of a much bigger regional power struggle.
And before we take leave of you, a recap of today's main stories. Participants at the first ever Gambia Day held on the sidelines of the Convention on the Status of Women at the United Nations headquarters has urged to act with urgency and learn from the Gambia's experience. Director General Momodu Sabali and 2 of his deputies have embarked on a weekend tour of GRTS's provincial facilities to acquaint themselves with the state of affairs. Anti-immigrant protest has erupted in the Belgian capital and in Paris. This as authorities in both countries deepen their investigations into the recent terror attacks. And an island protected by Taiwan, but claimed by China, has added to the already complex mix of claims and counterclaims in the South China Sea. Well, that was all we have for you in this edition of the News at 8. Thanks for the pleasure of your company, but do join us at 10 for another bulletin. Until then, I'm your presenter, WINIFRED NICOL.